What's up, y'all? It's your boy Cool Fish. Today I'm gonna take you for a very special meal. The meal's major ingredient is pig intestine, and this meal can only be found in my city, Beijing, China. The meal is called 卤煮火烧. Alright, enough said. Let me take you inside. I wanna talk about why Chinese people ain't got no humor. In the last video, I mentioned our stressful life is not allowing us to develop our sense of humor, but I didn't explain why we don't have it in the first place. Like, our civilization has lasted over 3,000 years, how come humor is not part of it? But unfortunately, it was because of our long and painful history, humor has been brutalized out of our culture. We have lost our ability to crack or take jokes because of thousands of years of insane brutal waves of despotic rulers, famine, invasion, racial bullying, general chaos. Before I get into the connection between our history and lack of humor, I gotta give credit to Manchego Johnson. It was him brought up the history factor and inspired me on this topic, so big shout out to Mandingos. Manchego Johnson. Alright, throughout Chinese history, the longest dynasty with unification of power was the Han Dynasty, which replaced the very first unified and centralized empire, Qin Dynasty. Unlike Qin Dynasty, which lasted only 13 years due to tyranny, Han Dynasty respected Confucianism as national moral principle, which helped Han Dynasty lasted over 400 years. But there's payback for our nation, especially when we allow philosophy to be abused by despotic emperors for the purpose of facilitating royalty and hegemony. They use it as a method of brainwashing lower-class people to swallow the oppressive life of living the fear of authority. So after 400 years of appearing peace, it was completely chaos for another 400 years. Separate regime, famine, frequent mutinies. New leaders replaced the previous one with their new order, which was even more oppressive, led to much frequent mutinies. Despotic rulers get usurped faster than NBA players change their team. People didn't know who they should follow or stay loyal to. It's not about who's better, it's about safety. The moment you pick the wrong side, the next moment you met your whole family on gelatin. It was during that time Buddhism was introduced into China because people was too desperate in real life. People's expectation for their government became so low. They didn't mind to be controlled or being submissive. They just want to live, even if a miserable life. We have a saying, 好死不如赖活着, which means it's better to live a worthless life than die as a hero. In this case, you can't argue about a cockroach reference toward Chinese people, considering we actually developed this cockroach mentality. Even came out with a model. The next time China was unified again was the short-lived Sui Dynasty, which was longer than Qin Dynasty. It lasted for 38 years. They made the same mistake, tyranny. For example, Qin Dynasty forced labor to build the Great Wall, Sui Dynasty forced labor to build canal. Sui Dynasty then was replaced by the famous Tang Dynasty, then was the same shit over and over again. Appearing peace, separate regime, nation reunified, mutinies, dynasty changes, invasions, occupations, uprisings. Man, our people hardly catch a break from the reign of terror. Most of the times in our history, China has had very low trust in oppressive societies, where people fear sudden arbitrary punishment for very minor digressions, like a small joke or a sarcastic observation. The periods in time where it wasn't the case were too few or too short to have any effect in reversing this mentality. There were times when people got executed just because they accidentally wrote down a word from the emperor's name. If you have to use that word, you have to replace it with another word with the same pronunciation. Imagine having your head chopped off for making such a small mistake. Not to mention you trying to make fun of authorities intentionally. You're laughing at the emperor's head. Chop. What do you mean this wall's not straight? Chop. How dare you mocking the injustice and corruption? Genocide. And there has always been people who have made a living uncovering these troublemakers as a source of income or political gain. Turns out there is no collective trust of common man, only submission to leader or emperor. Being funny, wisecracking, sharp-witted, and charismatic were seen as threatening, dangerous, and undesirable. After 3,000 years of traumatizing history, this ancient collective social trauma passed on. For example, there's an interview about what people gonna do with their money if they won lottery. The most epic answer was, A lot of hookers and crack cocaine. I was laughing my ass off because I never heard any lottery winner end up good. So I was like, indeed, that's exactly how you should spend it. This guy keeps it real. And my mom was so pissed. She ended up giving me a whole lecture of morality, the danger of drug abuse and lust. I was like, chill out, Mom. Where did that come from?
Can I ask you, if you won all the money, what would you do with it?
Bunch of hookers and cocaine.
Oh, okay, that's not good. We were hoping for a different answer. That's probably not the answer that we're looking for. All right.
What I mean is, despite we're living in a much more open era, humor is seen as confusing and strangely threatening. People are still insecure. Only expression that was considered safe was retained in the common habit. People wish their fear is gonna go away when a new dynasty or era arrives, but they are not aware of that they have trained themselves to feel secure with self-repression. So why this meal? You have seen what I've been eating, right? Pig organs, mostly intestine, but don't look down on it. This is even more expensive than meat nowadays. This meal was invented by lower class people back in the day because they can't afford meat. Nowadays, people start to propagate it as a traditional, local special must-eat. The price goes up, the quality goes down, and some low self-esteem Beijingers even take pride of eating this meal, see it as a symbol of their regional identity. They feel a sense of belonging by eating it. It's just like people's enthusiasm for luzhu. I guess our strange and insecure reaction for humor is not gonna easily fade away neither.